Hey everybody, Brady here from BGWX, and we are back for another summer. It means we're back for more tropics breakdowns. We're going to get to it eventually. We could have broken down, the storm that hit the Carolinas last month, but I feel like I covered it well enough on X. But now we are back here on YouTube, and couldn't wait any longer. I felt there was a lot going on with discussion. I want to get my thoughts out. So without further ado, let's get started. And a reminder that this is going technically live on YouTube if you're watching the premiere right now. I've pre-recorded this video, but if you have questions, I am in the chat currently, so feel free to ask them. Or if you're in the comments rewatching, you can also feel free to ask questions there. I'll be more than happy to give my thoughts and perspective. With that said, here is Tropical Storm Erin. You are looking at a little disorganized at the moment, but that's not still a 45-mile-per-hour tropical storm taking on a little bit of a shrimp look, as you can see. A little bit of that convection on the northern side of the circulation waning a bit. You can see it's losing a little latitude as well, dropping southwest. Now, how much southwest down the line, or how much this is moving southwest currently, could play a big part in terms of long-term track, but we'll go more into depth to that in a second. Let's cover what's going on at the moment. So you can see there's a little bit of a cluster of thunderstorms here in the bottom corner here as I zoom in on, and that's part of this whole wave of moisture moving along these potential tropical systems that could even form behind Erin, what is currently Erin as of yesterday or this morning, depending on how you view it. And it is a 45-mile-per-hour tropical storm. It is 10:04 millibars as of the 11 p.m. advisory. Will likely stay that as well. But it is working to shear currently some of these thunderstorms, Erin as well. So I think it's going to continue to remain weaker tomorrow, today, depending on how you view it. So I wouldn't look for too much strengthening. It could maybe strengthen 5-10 miles per hour if the environment does start to get much more favorable overnight. Then maybe it could strengthen a little bit more, but for the most part, I expect it to remain tropical storm status tomorrow as well. And so does the National Hurricane Center. You can see there in their warning and their track, you can see they are not expecting it to be a hurricane until about 48 hours from now. So a couple days from now is when they first put hurricane forecast status, and they are forecasting to be a tropical storm about 60 miles per hour tomorrow evening. So they're forecasting some strengthening. We'll see if it gets to that even. But in the meantime, you can see slowly moving southwest. It's moving at a decent pace, but it's meandering its way through the eastern Atlantic currently. It just hit Cabo Verde Islands yesterday, and unfortunately took some lives there due to the flooding. So you can send some prayers for those people. But here's what we're looking at in the meantime here. Under the hood, let's get a refresh here now. And you can take a look. Here's our circulation. So this is where it is in the Atlantic, way out in the eastern Atlantic, closer to Africa than any of the potential Caribbean islands. So it's way out there. But here's our circulation here at the surface. You can see. Let's go to, that's the surface. And here's 700 millibars. So what I'm looking at right now is there's still some elongation here. And that's a 45-mile-per-hour tropical system. So it's not a super organized tropical cyclone yet, as we would it's not like we're expecting that for a 45-mile-per-hour system. And you can see there's still a little bit of elongation to this system, displaced to the southwest, even in the circulation here. So you see this main circulation pretty normal, right? It's not like this is like crazy, but it's still fairly well organized 45-mile-per-hour tropical storm. But you can see there's still some broadness and elongation here to the southwest, with not just the low-level flow here at the surface but also at 700 millibars here in the mid-levels. You can clearly see some elongation here to the south, and I'm wondering I mentioned it yesterday on some of my breakdowns. How far south could we potentially see allow the center of the system to come? Could we see center reformation if more convection persists down here? That could severely alter the tracks, but potentially as well. And also, in the process of a center formation, could that halt intensification as well if we were to see that? And a weaker system um, would likely be able to track more westward as well, potentially. So there's a lot of different things we have to consider here, um, and we have to keep an eye on all these little details currently. Reminder, it is my first tropics breakdown, so if I take a couple seconds to get out my words sometimes, it's because we haven't done it in a little bit. But let's switch gears here and let's take a look now at some of the models. Well, first, you can kind of see right there's the convection starting to displace more south and west. So I want to see, do we see any center reformations over the next couple days? And also, how does this organize itself? And it just how does it start to organize itself under the hood is what I'm going to be looking for, and not just the pretty satellite images, which often many resort to, which I love, but I love looking under the hood as well, what's going on. Oh, didn't want to do that, so let's shift gears here now. We can stay here to models. There's a lot of discussion going on, and rightfully so, because it is, likely going to be the first major hurricane, or at least a strong hurricane in the Atlantic. Let's see, and when looking at this, you can see is 1,000 millibars. So GFS was 4 millibars too strong with the intent. I guess 11 p.m. maybe was a few millibars stronger, but was a little bit too strong with the intensity. GFS at the initialization here. And so when I'm taking a look here, what stands out is, I'm going to slide here. This is our storm here. Take a look at this little blob here, just west of the Cape Verde Islands off of the coast of Africa. As you can see here, is continuing to meander along its way into the Atlantic. And then here's where it starts questioning, right? We start seeing this this weekend. It likely becomes a hurricane, but by this weekend, if not during the weekend. We'll see this thing become a hurricane, and even later this weekend, it could become a major hurricane at some point this weekend. So we'll have to keep a close eye on that, depending on how quickly it intensifies. But this is where questions start coming into place here. And we're going to go to 500 millibars height anomaly. This is our system right here, and I'm going to draw on the map anyways, so you can see. And this is just the GFS example 84 hours out from now, so it's we'll look at different models as well, but we don't need different models to highlight what I'm looking at right here. And what I want to show you guys is this is our system right here. Now, what I'm also going to be looking for is the steering pattern all around here. You can see trough, ridge, trough, ridge, trough, right? Well, this is what we're going to be looking at. And I'm going to be very curious to see how models do in terms of predicting the intensity and the strength of the ridging out here in the Atlantic. Models are notorious, especially in the Atlantic where there's poor sampling, for underestimating the strength of ridges out here. They tend to underestimate the strength of ridges more than overestimate, especially out here in the Atlantic. And what I would be curious to see is how much will this influence potential the track to the point of could we be talking about U.S. impacts down the line. But even before that, we have to consider how close could this come to making an impact on the Leeward Islands if it is going to become close enough. So that is one thing I would take a concern is, and then the next stop after that would be Bahamas over the next 7-8 days. So those are the first two destinations that this thing has. The strength and the location will be absolutely key. And then after, for wherever this thing would go, After, we would have to be keeping a close eye on the placement, the timing, and the strength of our upper level environment. You've been seeing me call the UL upper level environment on some of my X posts, and then from there, that's where the uncertainty becomes. And I don't want to play anymore just yet because I want to go to the ensembles because I think they'll show a decent spread. We'll use the Euro AI here. Actually, we'll use the Euro. I think that's a good medium in between, just based on where the model consensus is. Now, I'm really not too big on... I think here's one thing I'll say is people are way too focused on models' exact placement of Erin's track. Just in general, but for right now, we'll just focus on Erin's track, and have been. I mean, we had people following model runs 300 plus hours out. You just can't do that when it comes to anything in weather. 2 weeks out? I mean, come on. I mean, over 2 weeks out it was. So I really want to stress that you have to be patient. I'm seeing people talking about, is there going to be a windshield wiper effect from like 2 weeks out? And I'm like, there's no windshield wiper effect 2 weeks out. It's just models changing. Like, it's like you really have to consider that. So I want people to understand that you cannot be so focused and honed in on certain solutions this far out. You have to let models kind of do their thing and play around with the upper level environment to get. I'll give you an example. Let's take a look here. Let's go out all the way, for example. Let's say 240 hours out, like 10 days out. Don't focus on anything in terms of the placement, the track of Erin. Just look at everything, the whole picture here. The whole picture here. Let's take a look. That's one run. That's the previous run. The run before that, the run before that, and the run every single time. And this is what I'm talking about. This far out, models are not going to be able to hone in. Look how many drastic changes there are that far out. Let's go even to, say, 8 days out. Or somewhere around there. 8 days out. Did I do that math? Yeah. It's late. Give me a break. Look how many drastic changes there are, not only in the track of the system itself, but also the upper level environment itself. Let's do a trend GIF just of the last 12 runs, and we'll do it fast. And take a look at how many changes happen. I'm focusing on this so much because it's super important in my opinion. Take a look at how drastic the upper level environment changes are. They're just all over the place. And that's not unexpected. You see how drastic so many of these changes are to the upper level environment? It's just how you can't over focus on some of these things so far out. Gotta let models do their thing a little bit. We would not be talking about 10 days out, 2 weeks out, winter storms. So I get it, it's over the ocean, and it's a system that's there, and it has to go somewhere where it's a little bit different with a winter storm, the precise timing and location. But still, you can't overwork the models more than they're capable of, right? There's the upper level environment can drastically change from run to run, so really have to be patient. Now, here's what I'm looking at. That is Erin right there. This is, let me get a little bit more zoom. I want the flatter look though. So we'll go here. This is fine enough. You know what? I am going to pull up a specific run for this. It's fine. It is fine. We'll go North Atlantic, and here we go. We'll pull up the... I don't care really which Euro run. It's fine. We'll go 12Z Euro as an example. Forget the exact placement. Actually, don't forget it, but don't focus too much on it. here's what I'm going to hone in on. So all these little things back here in terms of track will make a difference. Because if we have a storm that stays, let's say, further south and makes a closer approach to the Bahamas, I think it would look something more like this or something if we were to see that probably closer to the Bahamas. Let's say if this is, I'm assuming this would be about 600 miles southwest of where it was. I mean, we did see a near 900 to 1,000 mile jump earlier on the GFS run to run. But my point is, this is all going to be a little bit further away from the weakness here in the ridge as well. Okay, that's just what's modeled for now. Let's say if something similar to this scenario were to happen, is my concern would be, is this ridge really coming in behind it too? If this gets trapped under the ridge, this is going to have to either make a very close approach, even let's say similar to this position, let's say just a little bit further, let's say here. If this gets trapped under the ridge, or let's say we have stronger ridging out here that's not being modeled as well in the Atlantic all the way through here, and this pushes it further west as well, that's another thing I'd be looking for. So we could have under modeled ridging out here that could push the track further west and prevent a latitude gain that way as well. But let's say just in general, regardless of how, let's say models forget how they're handling the upper level environment, let's say the exact track of how those two are connected, but let's say it's just further southwest with this similar upper level environment, just a little bit. If this ridge is able to fill in enough, this is going to get close enough to at least have some indirect significant impacts, if not direct significant impacts on the U.S. coast, whether it would be Florida, whether it would be the Carolinas, or it would be New England potentially, depending on how quickly a recurve would happen with the system. But also, if this ridge were to really be under model, let's say it's a weaker trough up here, and we have ridging building all here, and this is a completely further southwest track, then we would start worrying about how far west is this going to go before this recurves. Does this thing work its way into the Gulf of Mexico? It's certainly not out of the realm of possibilities, even though it's not a more likely scenario. I will say at this moment, despite being so far out, I will say that it's not one of the more likely scenarios as of now, but it's something you have to keep an eye on. So this is why the upper level pattern is going to dictate a good amount. If we were to see a stronger system, a stronger system, we would likely see it be able to work its way through some of the ridging a little bit more effectively early on. Stronger system early on, and it could allow potentially for a faster recurve out to sea. And then maybe we talk about potential Bermuda impacts, or no impacts. So again, there's still a lot of different things we have to keep an eye on here. But after that, this is where some things we have to take a look at. Regardless of how close of a southeast U.S. impact, we also have to consider that this could have a northeast impact, or a Canadian impact as well. Let's say, regardless of the upper level environment, across the central Atlantic and into the main development region, let's say we look at the further North Atlantic. This could be, this is a 9 days out depiction here, over 9 days out, almost 10 days. This could look drastically different. And you saw run to run the flips and changes we saw. So we would have to keep anything close to the coast here. Any interaction with the trough, supposedly to say, could get wrapped in, potentially become a whole baroclinic mess of extratropical fun stuff, or if there's enough ridging in place to help steer this back west in the northwest, then that would also be enough of a prop. That would be a significant problem as well. But in likelihood, if it were not to hit here, more times than not, the weakness in the ridge typically allows storm to recurve off to some extent. So for at least to be either just a glancing blow for New England, or on just a wavy days at the beach. Um, but there's different things that I just wanted to highlight in terms of potential possible scenarios. So again, we're still so far out, so I don't even want to really look too much into the tracks beyond here, because this is so far out. So I would say the main takeaways and what I think we should be watching here. Let's slide to... No, this is fine. We'll go back to here. So I think what we should be watching here is what's happening here in this phase. Before we get to all those hours out, let's figure out what's going on first in the next 5 days, because that's going to significantly dictate what happens after. So that is what I want to really hone in on, and figure out how can we get a clear idea of where the storm is heading, the strength of the storm, the location, all these different things that are going to play a part. And then you can see beyond that, that's another wave maybe we would have to watch after. So the tropics are about to get pretty active here as we enter the middle to latter part of August. So those are kind of the thoughts of where my head is at right now. I don't think there's any clear idea on where exactly this is going to hit at the moment. I just don't. I think it's going to take a lot of time to sort itself out. And I think a lot of you need to just stay patient, because in theory, anywhere from here to here could get hit with the system. Like that's from like it's just such a large range of possibilities, in my opinion, right now. So I don't want to really rule too much out, and I guess in theory you couldn't rule so far south. I wouldn't completely rule it out. I've seen crazier, but for the moment, I'd say that's within a reasonable range. 2,000-3,000 miles across the more than that across the Atlantic is the range we're talking about. So I really would suggest people remain patient, and until then we'll just see what happens. But there is no immediate impact concerns for the U.S. mainland at the moment, but I would be monitoring the situation. If you live anywhere from Florida to New England right now, I would be monitoring what's happening, and having a plan in place to know what you would do if a hurricane strike was going to happen, let's say next week. Have a plan in place. It doesn't mean you need to just go start buying things, but you should have a plan in place of what you would do to prepare. And for the Leeward Islands, if there is anybody watching there, I would be closely. I'm sure many people there have their plans prepared due to the location they live in. But I would be closely monitoring the situation, given its potential proximity, and it would only be about 5-6 days away. As well, in Puerto Rico, I guess you should keep a somewhat close eye on this as well, although I would say it's expected to remain to the north for now, but let's keep a close eye on that as well. Definitely seen crazier things happen before. Okay, so the takeaways, I would say, let things play out closely. I'm going to be monitoring the upper level environment. I may have forgot a couple things I want to say, but I'm getting very tired as we progress through this video for whatever reason. It's late. That's the reason. And also be monitoring all the little details with Erin's speed, location, potential center, reformations we'll be watching, and just the overall development of the center of circulation as well. And then I'll be monitoring satellite and under the hood tomorrow as well. So without further ado, I appreciate everybody tuning in. Until next time,